Hello, I'm Chris Osman, and this is Solutions. Enough complaining, let's fix America. Today is May 5th, and we're facing another day in which our government is failing to respond to the COVID-19 crisis. How long should we be put up with this kind of behavior? How long should we allow those people who are elected to protect and serve this country? How long should we allow them to ignore and avoid their responsibility and not return to Washington? When they say that they praise essential workers and they talk about how great essential workers are, why aren't they doing their job? Because our government right now is more essential than it has ever been in my lifetime. We need solutions, and they're not providing it. Hence, this video series. The government has failed to provide money that is needed to keep people in their houses, to keep them in their apartments, to provide them with food, to provide them with all the money they need to pay their bills. Yet they want everybody to stay home without offering any types of solution. They don't offer this. To me, is immoral behavior, and it doesn't provide any solace for the multitudes of Americans that need help right now. Other countries have seen fit to provide their citizens with a universal basic income until this epidemic or pandemic has passed. But America does not seem to see fit to help its people, other than those who already have more money than they could even spend in their lifetime or the lifetimes of generations of their family to come. So, this video series is here to offer solutions, to try to offer solutions to some of the biggest problems that we face. Currently, the coronavirus or the COVID-19 pandemic is one of the biggest problems. But this is something, there are a lot of the biggest impacts of the COVID-19 could have been avoided or mitigated to a certain degree had certain steps been taken. As a matter of fact, I just saw a video of Obama talking about preparing for just such an emergency that would be comparable to the Spanish flu, or could be comparable to the Spanish flu, when he was still president. He warned of something like this coming, and Trump actually dismantled those agencies that were tasked with addressing such pandemics. They were to keep track of these pandemics around the world, and they were to provide information as to the lead up as to when those pandemics could possibly reach America. But that's Trump. And I don't want to blame him for everything, because there's a reason why we have Trump as a president now. It was all the decades of our government not representing the people of this nation and not representing the best interests of the people of this nation. But that's a topic for another time. Right now, I would just want to recap some of the things I spoke about in yesterday's video. And first off, decentralizing systems. One thing I would like to add on to what I spoke about, and I think I talked about this yesterday, is the need for our food supply chain to be made more secure and more decentralized. Because look at what's going on now. The food supply chain is breaking because people are getting sick in these places that process our food. Maybe if we had local food sources like Victory Gardens, like they did after World War II, I think it was. If we had Victory Gardens where we were growing food in our backyards, maybe every person could grow one crop or two crops, or however, depending on the size of your lawn or your garden. If we had gotten rid of all the grass across the nation and had instead grown food crops to the point where people could be fed locally instead of relying on corporate processed food, we'd be better off right now. But this is something that people laughed at me when I suggested such a thing. I don't think anybody's laughing right now, because we are facing a serious threat of running out of food, because the processing plants where we get all our majority of our food nowadays, they're having to close down because so many of their workers are getting sick because of the COVID-19. Now, the next thing I'd like to recap on is the corporate PSAs, or whatever you want to call them, commercials, where they praise essential workers. Yesterday, I explained that. I provided information and examples of how companies like Amazon and Walmart have put out these commercials praising these workers, while in the meantime, they have been caught in the past doing very bad things, immoral, and what should be illegal things in the past to their workers. Amazon, instead of providing air conditioning to some of their giant uh, warehouses, they were stationing EMTs outside to take people to the hospital for heat stroke. Amazon was hiding the number of COVID-19 cases as alleged by one of their workers who they fired. Uh, Walmart, they were taking out insurance policies against some of the people that they predicted would die, people with illnesses like cancer that worked for them. They were employees. They were taking out insurance policies against their employees. They were offering courses for some of their new employees to get government assistance because they were paying such low wages, the people couldn't survive off of them. The Walmarts were costing every American tax payer um, to the tune of $1 million per Walmart store per year. Those are bad business models, and they shouldn't be allowed. But when you have lobbyists who go to Washington, D.C. and have an impact on what your elected officials do and say, that's the kind of system you live in. And to me, that's basically capitalism at the extreme. And capitalism will go to the extreme. It's not it's not a bug of capitalism to have people doing immoral, illegal, and corrupt things. It's just the way that it's going to get to, because if you don't continue to provide more profits, someone will swallow you up. And that actually will be discussed in one of the new sections today. But if you don't continue to grow as a business, some other business will swallow you up. And that leads us into my first topic, which is, how years ago a lot of mom and pop stores were being bought up. A lot of businesses are going to be bought up now with what's going on with the economy now, because our government is failing to act. Instead of our government providing money to individuals to maintain their access to buy products and be consumers, which drives the economy, the American economy, until the government provides those consumers with money, those small businesses with the funds to get through this hard time, our economy is going to continue to collapse. But the problem is that our government is also giving the super wealthy and corporations money, which they will in turn be able to use to buy up those small corporations, commercial properties that where there, say you have a strip mall, you own a strip mall, and you're paying a mortgage on that strip mall, and you have a bunch of businesses that have gone under because of coronavirus, or have not had any business because of coronavirus, say barbershops, hair salons, small clothing boutiques. If those businesses can't pay their rent, then the commercial landlord can't pay his mortgage. And what's going to happen to that property? That property is going to sit empty, and it's going to that eventually that landlord will default on the loan, on the mortgage. And who's going to buy it up? All the people who have been given all the money by our government. So there is a solution to that, and I will get to the solution as far as the commercial entities that are being bought up. But right now, I'd like to discuss those small businesses that operate in small towns in these strip malls that are going under. First off, years ago, a lot of these small businesses were put out of business because in small towns, especially because Walmart would go in and your local hardware store is gone because they cannot compete with the low prices that Walmart gets for the products that they ship in from China or other smaller countries. So those small mom and pops go out of business. Hardware stores, drugstores, you name it. Walmart, whatever Walmart sells in a small town, they've put out they've put the smaller competitors out of business. And then worse still is years later, when the people of the town no longer have enough money to buy Walmart products because Walmart pays, is the biggest employer in town and pays such low wages, when those people can no longer afford even the cheap products that Walmart sells, then Walmart shutters its doors and hauls ass and gets out of town. So what happens to those small towns? Well, in the description below, I'll provide links, and for all my future videos, I'm going to provide links to sources that discuss the issues that I bring up. So what you have is Walmart comes to town. They put out a lot of small businesses. They put a lot of small business out of business, and then they pay those people who worked at those small businesses. They pay them such low wages that they can't live off of that, and eventually it becomes unprofitable to be in that small town. So they up and leave, and then they leave in their wake a bunch of unemployed people, a bunch of destitute people in a town that, where people can no longer live. They are, for whatever period of time, they're out of luck, basically. And that's all that Walmart is basically saying to those people. So, some of the things that we need to do to kind of mitigate what the harm that big businesses like Walmart and Amazon cause to local, well, Amazon's a different situation, but like they own Whole Foods, and those kind of businesses also have an impact on small towns. So what we should do is require that any big business that comes to town and puts any small businesses out of business, we should require that these companies do two things. First off, there should be an annual set aside of the profits that Walmart or Amazon or whatever, Whole Foods or whatever big businesses come into town. There should be a set aside annually for future use, so that when that company uproots and leaves, they should have a fund to cover unemployment for the people that they leave, the unemployed people they leave in their wake for a certain amount of time. The time can be, to be determined, and that's something that, would have to be worked out. They pay a living wage, because that makes no sense that they come into town and they pay such low wages that they first off have to be subsidized by the taxpayers, the rest of us, and secondly that their wages are so low that eventually they can't even afford the products at Walmart, and it makes Walmart or whatever business, I'm referencing Walmart because that's the one I've seen the most articles about, and as I said, there will be links in the description below. But so Walmart leaves these small towns. They shutter a bunch of stores in these small towns because the people can no longer afford the products that Walmart sells. That's a little ironic, since Walmart is the company that's paying such low wages that the people can't afford. Now, so that's Walmart and the solutions for Walmart. Now I'd like to talk about something that's more pressing right now, and that's the federal government confiscating PPE and other COVID-19 supplies. Now, why is the government confiscating, outbidding states, and why are the states so concerned about not receiving the COVID-19 supplies that at least one has actually snuck in COVID-19 tests? I think it was Baltimore, the governor of Maryland. He went on the news and said he snuck in a bunch of supplies under the mayor of Baltimore, Maryland State National Guard, and because he didn't trust that the federal government would not confiscate those supplies. And the federal government has shown that they will outbid or will confiscate supplies for COVID-19 for the federal government. That's not the federal. There's no unity in that. So why should any of these governors trust that? Now, the obvious solution to something like that is that state governors need to actually sneak more supplies in for their residents, because right now our federal government is not reacting properly. They're reacting, and when they do react in an improper manner, it happens to deal with taking supplies from states and causing more harm than good. Right now, federal government isn't, they keep doing press briefings with the president, and he keeps saying one thing and then contradicting himself, saying that the state should open. No, the state should stay closed, or the states should open, but I'm not going to force them, or they should stay closed, but I'm not going to force them. What kind of direction is that? Donald Trump is not a leader. He is a terrible president. He should have never been elected president. But again, I say there's a reason why he's elected president, and it doesn't have to do with it. It's less to do with racism than it has to do with how poorly our government has treated us for the past few decades. If everybody was doing well in their lives, in the economy, over the past few decades, then there's no way that Donald Trump would have won president. He was laughed at in previous campaigns. His campaign ended abruptly and quickly every other time that he ran for president. So why is it this time stuck? There had to be some catalyst that set that off. And that catalyst was the fact that previous administrations had failed us time and time again. I mean, I voted for Obama twice, but I was disappointed twice. And I can see why people chose to vote for Donald Trump. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I would never vote for Donald Trump. But I understand why people did vote for him, because of frustration, because of the feeling that they were not represented. Anyway, sidetrack, story for another time. Basically, those are the two topics I wanted to cover. Is the fact that a lot of small businesses have been put out of business already and will be put out of business because of the actions or the inaction of our government. So the general solution to all of this is that in a safe manner, when the pandemic has been conquered or suppressed to a certain extent, people need to get out in the streets, because all this bickering about voting blue, voting red, it's never solved anything in the past 20, 30 years. Not voting for either side has not helped the majority of the people, and that's why we're in the situation we're in now. Historically, the things that have been made because big change have been people going out in the street and protesting. And I'm not condoning protesting right now, at least not in a manner that would require people to congregate amongst each other. I'm saying we can do online protests. Essential workers need to be supported, and with the general strike, those kind of things should be happening right now. And I just don't see America, the American public, as being supportive of those kind of endeavors. Well, that's solutions. Enough complaining. Let's fix America. Thank you for joining me today. Come back tomorrow when we'll be talking about, or I'll be trying to explain or define how you can tell when a politician is lying. It's not really that hard. But join me tomorrow and I'll go into that amongst other topics. Thank you.